Hello, Dhanshi. Thanks for joining. The audio is not connected yet.
Hello.
Hello, Dhanshi. Thanks for joining.
Yes, sir. I couldn't hear anything, so there were some settings gone
Right,
wrong.
right. Yeah. First time in Zoom, we'll have to do that audio setting and
No, we were using it for our college during lockdown,
all. Okay.
but the few settings have changed, so that's it.
Make it more slanting. Yeah, make it slant. Slant. Yeah. The light fine. I think it's okay. That's fine. I think she's joining. That's the hands. Hello, Anushri. Thanks for joining.
Hi, namaste.
Namaste.
Yeah, just a second. Now.
Yeah, just waiting. Dhanishri also is joining. She's our junior architect on this project.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
Hello. Hi, ma'am.
Hello.
Hi.
I'm just waiting on Hardev ji once he joins.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought I saw. Hello. Good afternoon, Hardev. Jeshwant bhaiya, you're able to hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear
Yeah.
me?
Yes, I can. Thank you very much for joining.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let me quickly introduce my. We have Anushri ma'am. She is architect in Dharti Hands,
Yeah.
DHIRT. Yeah. So she is our trainer for lime plastering, and she will be coaching the whole team here.
Okay.
And I wanted to ensure that she hears out, your approach of doing things as well, so that
Yes.
accordingly she can tune her training and consulting for us.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. And then we also have Dhanashri ma'am. She is our junior architect on this project.
Hello, sir. Hello, ma'am.
Hello. Yes, so when we were doing the facade in Cabela, as I was saying, we were forced by the Belli Arte, who is the institute in Italy, to try to use the original type of materials which were used in the past, and for the first coat, which was like the rendering coat, which was the first surface, we only used washed sand from the local riverbed, because in Italy, all sand otherwise is imported into the country. But I think the important thing is to try to use a clean quality of sand. And the lime comes already in a sludge-based bags with its own water already inside it, which means that you're not allowed to mix any clean or any dirty water extra inside with the lime water, because otherwise then the properties of the lime dissolve, so it's very important to try not to add too much extra water. The one thing that we did do was that for every coat, if the rendering was already quite dry, between the surface coats, we wet the wall so that the lime plaster, the humidity would not be soaked by the bricks.
Got it. Now, the watering the bricks, would it be done one day before, or would it be just 1 hour before?
Maybe a few hours before, because I think in India, because of the heat, it would probably dry instantaneously, So what you want to try to avoid is that the surface tension doesn't soak the water, because that'll lead to cracking in the rendering.
Okay.
Yeah. So after we had fit, we had, in some areas, we had 12 centimeters of first coat, So we did maximum 2 to 2.5 centimeters each coat. But if you're making like a new building now, you probably might have to do 2 first coats. Yeah. So the first would be the rough coat with the leveling with the second coat. Important is that the leveling, when it's done, the leveling should be done in a way that the surface is, when you're doing the final coat, which is only 3 millimeters, that will cover the surface very smoothly, that you don't have patches where you've got 4 millimeters, 5 millimeters, 6 millimeters, because then the upper coat will take different drying rhythms, if the surface has different thicknesses, and that will also cause cracking. Yeah. And if you find that the first and the second coat are drying very fast again, maybe try to use early morning, late afternoon. In the sunny period of the day, avoid, and that way you're gonna and don't wet the surface when it's been put on. If it cracks, you have to deal with it afterwards. Okay. All right. And the final coat which we put on, so that means you've got 2 coats of the rough sand with the washed lime.
Yeah.
The final coat is actually the 3 millimeters of marble powder with the lime. But when that marble powder and lime, the final coat goes on, it has to be polished within half an hour.
Within half an hour. Polished within half an hour.
So what happens there is the 3 millimeters will go on from one team, and they will carry on moving doesn't matter how high the building is. If you've got a scaffolding, you'll have many people working from left to right, each person on his scaffolding height binding to the next level, so that the whole thing moves from right to left or left. Depends on how you want to move. And then there'll be maybe one person on each level half an hour later who will, with the flat American trowel, polish. And that last person, he will use what we called is the gold. That means when he is leveling and polishing the surface, whatever fine material comes off, he's going to be using that fine material mixed with just a little bit of pure lime mixture. So he'll make it a little bit more fat, and that will be polishing the surface. And in that final surface is where you want to have added the linseed oil. Because then the linseed oil, what it does is it stops the surface drying too fast, because the oil holds the water in the surface. But also when they're polishing, the oil will create like a glass finish on the surface. Yeah. What we also have, I can switch on to my, I don't know if it'll work if I join the Zoom meeting also with my mobile phone.
Yes, you can.
At the same time, because then I can, but I need to swap my, screen. Oh no, I can't do that, but I'll, yes.
Also, you'll have to use just one microphone, either on your laptop or on your
Okay,
mobile.
so I can leave it on, but I'll just show you this.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah. So let me show you this. I don't know if you can see this.
Yeah, we can.
Surface. So this is a finish which I've done in our meditation room here in our house. And here what I did was I added red oxide color, okay, into the final finish lime marble. And I didn't mix it through. I left it, I only did it with the hand quickly so that I get this like marble effect on the wall. I don't know if you can see that quite well. Yeah, and then on the lower areas, I don't know. Let me just see a place here. I don't know if you can see.
Yeah.
If you see here, I put some motifs on there, and the lower section I made with a darker color. You know, so the room goes 90 centimeters. So you can actually use the same system, not just outside, but you can also do it inside. And up at the top, I made like a line, you can see, you know, the red line, which is up here, and then made a fainter motive and left the ceiling then white, you know. So you can, but you can use all different types of colors, you know. You can use blues and greens, anything that's a natural color you can use to create these effects. If you want to also do this inside the ashram, then, you know, so you're not just using this on the outside facade. You can also use it on the inside. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Perfect.
All right. So I just wanted to show you that, just so that you can see, you know, there's many possibilities. Very important is that the lime the lime really needs, you really need to use the natural colors for the lime. You know, if you use anything chemical based, it just will not work, because you'll feel that, you'll see it won't mix in with the natural lime in the sand. Yeah.
Yeah, I have Anushri actually specializes in Teralapt. I think it's called Teralapt. And the last coat she usually has been doing the Moroccan style.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Now I wanted to ask you one question. Now, in the initial discussion that we had, the first coat, we talked about having something like 3 parts aggregate with 1 part lime.
Yes.
Second coat, we talked about something like 3.5 to 4 parts aggregate and 1 part lime.
Yes.
And third coat, we talked about 2 part marble, 1 part lime.
Yes. The marble has to be really fine, though. You know, you're looking at from 0.5 to 1 millimeter. You don't really want it larger than that. Otherwise, you won't be able to polish it. Okay.
Got it. Okay.
So it's really important to really get a fine marble powder.
Right. Now,
And also trying to keep the material always clean, you know, that you
Yeah.
don't get foreign entities coming inside. Because as soon as you have, what we did was we try to make each coat, you know, as a complete finish before we did each second coat and then the final coat, you know, because that way you were really keeping each coat very individual and clean, you know, to each movement.
and when you did a coat, usually, like here, typically, they suggest do a coat and wait for 7 days.
No, you don't have to. You do not, because in India also you'll find that the temperatures it will dry very fast. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because of the heat, you'll see, and lime, the important thing is the binding qualities of lime. As long as the first coat is humid, the second coat will attach to it easier. And wet in wet, it'll bind much better than dry to wet, because then you're going to have to wet the surface again, you know.
Right.
When you already have 1 coat on there, the first coat, and you do the leveling coat of the first coat, you know, the very fine filling in the holes,
Yes.
you know, patching up the small mistakes, or the places that you've left free, you know, around the scaffolding, holding pins, etc. You know, you want to be as tidy as possible with the first coat, that when you do the second coat, you know, it's in wet and wet, it's much better binding, because otherwise you're going to have to use binding agents, and lime doesn't like binding agents, you know.
Okay. Now, in your usual practice, how long do you wait for the first coat, you know, or for the second coat to be put?
I would say in India, if you've got 20 degrees temperature during the day, and your first coat is only 1.5 to 2 centimeters, I would say, or if it's less than 2 centimeters, then I would say the next day.
Next day? Okay. So our temperature, by the way, is 32 today.
Hello?
Yeah, our temperature is 32.
32, because that's extremely warm, you know. So I would really stick to working in the morning hours, you know, really get the builders on the building site from 6 o'clock till 9 o'clock, you know.
Yeah.
Maybe 10 o'clock at the latest, you know. As soon as the temperatures are getting too hot, you'll see that the material will start to dry as you're putting it on the wall. And that's something you don't want, because then if the wall's too dry and the material's drying too fast, it's not going to stick, you know. And what you also want to do is, if you've got concrete surfaces and brick surfaces, you want to put a splash coat. The splash coat can be cement-based.
Yeah, concrete surfaces are cement based. Yeah.
Yeah, so rough sand with cement, so just a splash coat, yeah. And that is just like a binder. That's just so that your lime will bind to the undersurface. But you don't have, but because you're using lime, mix a little bit lime in the splash coat. You know, you've not just got sand and cement, you also got some lime inside.
Okay.
Okay, because otherwise the lime, you know, you've got a surface of concrete and a brick, and if you come directly on that with the lime, if the wall is wet, it will stick. Yeah.
Yeah.
But on the concrete, the lime won't stick very well. So that's why you need on the surfaces where the concrete is. You might even add a little bit of PVA inside the concrete mix so that it sticks also onto the concrete properly, because the splash coat won't even stick. Even cement splash coat won't stick very nicely on concrete, because you've got you know, because the cement with cement, if it's dry, it won't really stick, you know. So I would mix some bonding inside with the mixture. You don't need much, you know, you just need like maybe for one wheelbarrow, maybe a cap of PVA, you know. It's not very much quantities. It's just, it makes also the material a little bit more elastic and better to work with. Yeah. And the splash coat should really be quite wet and just really rough, you know. It should be just like a, you know, like swinging a brush on there, you know.
Right.
With the dampness. Important is that the sand sticks, and that first rough the splash coat should dry at least 1 or 2 days. Yeah.
1 or 2 days. Okay.
Yes, the splash coat should dry 1 or 2 days, and then you make it wet before you start to do the lime. Yeah.
Got it. Now, what is PVA?
PVA is like a bonding. It's like a white glue which you can mix into the any sort of
Fevicol? Can we use Fevicol here? Something called Fevicol.
Yeah, that's it. That's the same thing. Yeah, it's just a white. It's just a binding agent. It just helps to bind, and it makes the mixture lightly elastic.
Okay, just 1 cup of Fevicol we'll use. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not cup, cap.
1 cap.
Yeah,
1 cap.
Cap. The cap on the bottle. Normally, it's maybe for one wheel. Depends how big the wheelbarrow is. Yeah. If it's like a normal wheelbarrow, a small wheelbarrow which will hold maybe 20 shovels of sand to 4 or 5 shovels of lime, then you know you're looking at maybe 1 cap, you know, which is maybe 50 milliliters of PVA, you know, for one mixture. If it's a bigger machine, then I would roughly calculate that proportion, you know, to the larger machine, and add that much, and keep the material mixing for a longer time. Yeah, the lime likes to be kept moving, that it doesn't dry and harden up. Okay, so when you're mixing the lime, whatever you're using, take it from the wheelbarrow, but let the other material inside carry on being mixing, that it stays elastic. Yeah, because the lime is much more elastic than cement based, and if you leave it too long inside the buckets before you put it on the walls, it will dry out very quickly. Yeah, especially with 32 degrees, it's very, very fast. Yeah, it dries very fast. And that's why I'm saying, you know, the important thing is not to move the material too much. When you've got the material on in the area and you level it off, the same person shouldn't fill the holes. He should carry on doing his work. The second person comes and fills in all the holes and levels off.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, it just makes the whole thing move faster, because one person is slowly carrying on doing the main surface. The second person is coming with the second, filling all the holes, and that could be the second, you know, someone running up behind him, you know. And then the final coat, before you do the final coat, at least 1 day drying, then make it a little bit wet, and the final coat should really be done when it's cooler. Yeah, so there I would really stipulate early mornings, late evenings, during the sunny period of the day, not to do it, you know. We were always making long periods of siesta in the afternoon. Italians, the Italians are prone to that, you know. They won't, from midday till 2 o'clock till 3 o'clock, they won't work then, you know, when the sun is very hot.
Right.
And if it's possible in the areas where you have a lot of sun, is to try to create some sort of shade on the scaffolding, you know. That would also help a lot, that it doesn't dry too much, you know, so fast.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. So we do have plan for sloping roof, but I don't think it will be ready by the time we actually start doing the plastering.
Okay. No, I mean, I'm not talking about the roof. I'm just talking about just creating some sort of shade with the, you know, you can get these polyester netting, which in Europe we're forced to use this now in case there's anything falling, that it doesn't fall onto the street or fall, you know, that it's a protection net, but they're green or grey polyester plastic. But it also creates a little bit of shade, you know, if you you know, maybe have extra bamboo or scaffolding poles where you can maybe create like a lean-to roof above the area that you're going to be plastering, and just put it on top. It's you know, it's giving direct sun from the sun. It's just giving you some shade, you know.
Correct.
Also the workers as well, you know, because I mean, if you're going to be working in the heat, then it's very, you know, plenty of water. The workers should drink a lot. And important with the lime scale is, the workers should not wash their hands when they're dirty. Okay.
They should wash their hands when?
They should not wash their hands if they get the lime on their hands.
Okay.
They should wait till the lime is dry and just brush it off. Okay. Because as soon as you've got the lime plaster on your hand and you put water on it, it'll eat into your skin.
Right. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So important is, and you know, we had one brother here, Lothar, who died recently, you know, a few years ago, and he had that problem. He kept on washing his hands, and the lime was then eating his skin away. And then what was happening was he put rubber gloves on, and then the rubber gloves then tore, and the lime came inside the rubber gloves, and then his hands were permanently wet and white. And then he had huge problems because it eaten into his skin so deep, he had to stop. Yeah. So just be really careful. If they're going to wear gloves, get them leather gloves. Yeah, because the leather gloves will dry up everything. Don't use rubber gloves, because if the rubber gloves tear and the lime gets inside and your hands remain damp, the lime will eat your hands off.
Got it.
Okay. And be careful also, any dirty, what we were doing also was that we don't have so much wastage, is that we had at each level of the scaffolding, we made the scaffolding boards to the wall. Whatever fell down, we always kept the scaffolding boards clean, that we could straight away use that material. Yeah. So what fell, we used it straight away, but not mixing it with water, not leaving it so one person could just go around and collect that material on each level and then, you know, mix it with a little bit of lime just so that you can, so you don't have so much wastage, you know, because the lime, I don't know how expensive the lime is in India, but here it's become extremely expensive, the lime.
I see. I see. Yeah, we have a similar lime that you were mentioning. We have slaked lime that we are using here. It's
Yes.
in a vacuum sealed pack. So it should be similar to what you're expecting.
Yes.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello. Sir, I have a question. So now when we are making this coat, so 3-part aggregates and 1-part lime. So like in this, what should be the proportion of water, or we don't use water at all?
No, you try, only, it's better to try to keep the minimum amount of water so that the material is homogeneous and moving. Yeah. Important is that you keep the material in the mixing machine mixing. Yeah. That will
So like
keep the humidity. That will keep the humidity inside. Yeah.
okay.
At the same time, it will make it more malleable,
Okay.
better to use. Because if you just mix it, take it out and put it in buckets, put it on the scaffolding, and the workers take 2 hours to use it, by the time he comes to the final material in the bucket, it'll be dry, that you won't be able to use it very easily. So it's better to have like a rope pulley system to the workers on the scaffolding. When the worker is finished with one bucket, he's got another bucket pulled up to him.
Okay.
That way the material is constantly mixing in the machine, keeping it from drying out too much. And the longer the material mixes in the machine, the easier and better it is to use it. Yeah,
Okay, so
it's much more elastic and malleable. As as soon as it starts to dry out, the elasticity goes. Yeah.
okay, because when we were trying it on our site, I've observed that it's forming certain cracks, like small cracks. So is
Yes,
it because of the water?
that's why minimum amount of extra water, and the surface below has to be extremely wet when you do the first coat.
So basically, the what we say, the connectivity between the mortar and the wall is done with the water, which we like the dampness of the wall.
Yes, if you completely wet the one wall from top to bottom, really soak it, you know, maybe spend virtually 1 hour just completely wetting it from top to bottom. Yeah. Then maximum, you will see within half an hour of starting to do the mortar, it'll be dry. Yeah.
Right.
But that humidity that retains in the wall, when you're putting the mortar then on the wall won't suck the humidity away completely because it's already wet. That will
Right.
stop the cracks. Yeah. Okay. But don't rub the first surface. Yeah. Important is that everything is thrown with the trowel.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
So it's binding. Then you have like an aluminium level, you know, which we use it's called a statcha here. It's
Yes,
like an
yes.
aluminium board which you're using to create your level.
Yes,
Yeah.
right.
But the person who's making the first level shouldn't fill the holes. He should just carry on doing the surface. Someone behind him should come and fill the small holes and level them out behind him.
Yes, sir, got
Okay.
it.
That way, the first person is going to move fast and do the rough surface. The second person is filling up the holes, yeah, and the surface, making the surface, closing the surface, making sure there's no deep indentations. And then the next day should come the second rough coat, which will be a little bit finer, not so rough, yeah. And the second coat will virtually make the surface smooth. Okay, so that's going to be like maybe 3 to 5 millimeters, just to make the whole surface completely virtually flat, that you would think that it's already the finished coat before you do the final marble powder with the lime plaster. which is 3 millimeters. Yeah, it shouldn't be more than 3 to 5 millimeters. It shouldn't be more than that.
Shouldn't be more than 3.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. Okay. All right. And the final hand is the polisher. You know, he's basically just polishing the surface, and whatever material he takes off, he's mixing it with the pure lime a little bit to make this gold finish, which has then got the linseed oil inside. Yeah, which is really just polishing and making the surface like glass. Yeah.
There is some material called polyurethane, I think, that is used for waterproofing it. What do you know?
You don't need that, you know, because the linseed oil itself will close the light. If you look in Venice, yeah, the surfaces are only they only add the linseed oil to close the surface. Yeah,
Okay.
the surface, the linseed oil closes the surface. That the lime, if you don't have the linseed oil in the lime, and you rub your hand on the surface when it's dry, your hand will be white. Okay.
Yeah.
What the linseed oil does, it just closes the surface.
Yeah.
Because the oil will always come to the surface. Even though you've only put a tiny quantity of oil inside the last bucket, the oil will always come to the surface and it will stop the humidity inside the material coming out.
Yeah.
So it will also stop the cracking.
Okay.
Okay, so that final hand is the most important thing, because that will, number one, it'll close the surface, it'll polish the surface, and it'll seal the surface from water. You know, when it's heavy rain, it's the whole surface has been sealed, you know, with that.
Right. Anushri, you have any questions on or others?
Yeah, actually, I have a question, because in India we tend to, because we have a very tropical climate, we tend to keep our buildings a little more breathable. So what happens is that when there is some kind of, even if the damp proof course in the bottom level and everything is fine, there are certainly certain spaces in which the water finds its way into the building, into the building systems, like, masonry and all. So, in my opinion, what we have observed is that when we seal something from the inside or the outside, there's a chance that the water gets trapped within the building, because it has no way to escape from either of the membranes. And then that's when the building starts actually deteriorating from inside. And this is what we have been observing even when people in the villages who don't have the means to restore the building the way ASI or these restoration architects do, because they use pure lime and restore with it. But in the villages where people are just, because they are not able to maintain their old homes and it's a constant maintenance, so they do a cement coat and then they put paint on it. But what happens is that, like you mentioned, how that linseed oil is going to trap that moisture from even going in or going out. It's kind of making it decay from within, and then one fine day it just collapses. So I'm
Yes, well,
afraid that might lead to that, because linseed oil is a very polymerizing oil. It oxidizes in the presence of, in air. So creating a film like that would perhaps, in my opinion, may or may not work, because the climate that we live in is very humid at times, it's dry at times. So there's like even a diurnal range is there. In Pune also, even the summers it's really very hot in the afternoons and it's very cold in the night. So we would like if there is a vapor permeability within the membranes, either inside and the outside,
yes,
so that
because the linseed oil is a natural based, it's not a chemical based. Linseed oil will keep the surface open pore.
Okay.
The oil is only there, and it's only such a small quantity that it just is to polish the surface. Yeah, that's why it's so little. So if you have like maybe a bucket the size like this, if you have a bucket size like that, you would only put like 20 to 30 milliliters of linseed oil inside there. Because
Okay.
the only reason is that when you come with the trowel and polish that surface, every layer below doesn't have any linseed oil. It's only that final gold coat. Yeah. And the only thing you're doing there is retaining the water in the surface. Okay. So when you when you've put that gold coat, before you put the gold coat on, you've got the 3 millimeter coat that is the marble finish. When you've got the 3 millimeter marble coat on, the surface, you're using a sponge to make everything homogeneous, that everything looks fantastic. It's only the last hand with the American trowel, which is polishing the surface. Because if you don't polish the surface is going to be the 1 millimeter sandy surface, which is much more, it will be much more attracted to binding with dust. It'll also allow more water vapor to come in because the pearls will stay on the surface. But when you polish it, the oil on the surface will make it like a mirror. When the water comes on the wall, it will never come into the wall. Because the surface is like glass, polished like glass. I mean, like I showed you in our meditation room, you know, the finish is virtually, when you go on it, when you've polished it with the American trowel, it's like glass. Yeah. The finer it's polished, you know, it can even be that when like half an hour after the final coat's on, the gold coat, yeah, the very fine with the linseed oil, the man who's doing that on each level, as he's doing it, one could even come behind him and polish it again. You know, the tighter he polishes, he'll see the more glance he becomes. The more glance you get, the more the surface polish will not allow any water coming into the surface, but because it's lime-based, it will stay open pore. The reason why the problems happen with the cement is because if you've got previously clay bricks and you're using lime plaster for the first few hands, and then somebody comes and puts cement, lime and plaster have got two different factors. The lime plaster is flexible and will always remain flexible. It's got harder qualities as when you're doing concrete, the lime, if it's done properly. Cement is hard. It's not malleable, doesn't remain flexible. So you've got a surface behind, which is stone or brick, which is always moving because of the heat in India, yeah? There's the expansion and the contraction of brick, stone, which happens because of the heat. Cement plaster, because you've got no lime inside it, always goes rigid and hard. And a hard surface doesn't move. So what happens slowly is it starts to crack. Water comes in. Water will always find its way, yeah? As soon as water comes in a surface where there's a malleable surface and a hard surface, the malleable surface will move. The hard surface won't. And then the water pocket will come in behind. And then at some point, the cement will start to free from that moving surface. And that is what the problem is. People are mixing old tradition, lime plaster, with new material, with people who have no knowledge about how horrible it is to use cement, yeah? And then you're having the problems because the cement stays rigid, whereas old type of brick materials all stay malleable and move with the heat. Yeah.
I have one question here. Can I ask, Anushree?
Yes.
Yeah, please.
So one of the suggestions that we got from our plumber is, sir, you please go ahead with the lime plaster across the whole building, but for toilets, please use cement plaster so that I can put my tiles and others easily?
No, it depends, yeah. It depends on what type of tiles he's going to use. You know, there's nowadays you have also lime plaster, okay, on the inside walls, which you can also have the lime-based adhesives for tiles.
Okay.
Yeah, because if you look at your tiles, unless you're using marble, if you're going to use marble tiles, then you want to use anyway a much flexible property adhesive for the marble. Yeah, here in Europe we get for tiles we get different types of tile adhesives, and for marble we get completely different types of marble adhesives. And depending on whether you're using colored marble or granite, or whether you're using white marble or white granite, then you have to use them white-based colors of adhesives for the white marble, because otherwise at some point the gray colors from the adhesives will come through the marble, because the marble is very soft.
Yeah. So, well, anyway, my question now is, if we do bathrooms with cement and the others are with lime, will that be a problem?
No, it won't be.
It won't be a problem, right?
No,
Okay.
it won't be. What we sometimes also do is we'll render the rough coat up to the surface where the tiles are going to come. The upper surface where it's going to remain just painted, or if it's just going to remain the lime plaster, we will do it with the lime plaster only. So only up to the surface where he's going to do his tiling, maybe 5 to 10 centimeters, so that he's got so that he's coming onto the lime plaster. You know, not that he's coming. You know, that he finishes below on the cement plaster, that you have to make a bridge between the lime and the. It's better that he comes with his tiles up to the line, above the line, you know, and then the rest of the surface can be done with the lime-based paints, you know. And here the fantastic thing on the inside is, if you're going to use the lime-based paints inside, you can, when you've got the finish on the inside, you can already pre-mix the colors inside the lime-based finish.
Correct.
You know, like I said, you know, I mean, I made it look like marble, you know, but you can also mix the color in so finely, but then you have to work out how many square meters the color you're going to do in that room, you know, and to that quantity to try to make a mix in one bucket, you know, to be able to do that whole room in one tone, you know. Otherwise, if you don't mix enough, then you have to make sure you make measurements to try to get the same tone, you know. But there's then, because anyway, lime plaster, when you're painting it, you have to paint it then with the base coat paints, which are mineral based and not dispersion based. Because any dispersion paint, again, as I said, so as Anushri was saying, as soon as you close the surface, that the surface can't breathe, you're creating problems. So whatever paint that you use to paint it, I would suggest you use lime-based paint or clay-based paint. This is the new thing that's been used here in Europe, because the clay-based paint retains its humidity and makes the room cooler.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. That was helpful. Any other question? Okay. One, in the 2 trials that were done on the site. First trial was done with 3 parts aggregate and 1 part lime, and we had done that. Obviously, the expect that this one should be as hard as cement. So it was not as hard as cement, obviously.
No,
right?
It won't be as hard as cement, because the lime takes longer to achieve its hardening.
Correct.
Yeah.
So
And the lime will always remain elastic.
elastic. Okay.
Yeah.
Then
Cement will be rigid, which is which is what you don't want, because the rigidity of the cement is what creates again the problems when the bricks behind are expanding and contracting.
correct. Correct.
Yeah. Because the bricks are expanding and contracting, and that's why the air pockets come, because the cement will not want to move.
Correct. And then few days back, what they did was they did one more sample where they mixed 2-part aggregate and 1-part lime. And then they felt, wow, this one is most just as very, it's somewhere closer to cement. It was a little more thicker and strong.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, you have to do a few tests, yeah. But the thing is, if you start with the first coat, 2 parts sand, 1 part lime,
the
next coat should be weaker. You should never make the next coat stronger. So if you start with 2 parts of sand and 1 part of lime, the next one should be at least 2 1/4 sand to the lime, so weaker. Because if you make it harder, if you make less than 2, if you make it harder, then the harder surface is taking the humidity. That's what you don't want.
Got it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Also, when you're doing cement rendering, you'll start off with 3:1, and then you'll maybe do 3.5 to 4:1 on the second surface, because otherwise it won't bind to the first surface. And because if you keep both surfaces with the same static, it will separate at one point.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. It was beautiful. But yeah, we really got good data, and I'm more confident with Anushri and Dhanshri here on the call, because if there are any doubts, we can verify them because they know the subject. Anushri, Dhanshri, any questions on your end? Please feel free to ask.
No, sir. So far is clear. Like if there's anything we can discuss with Anushri ma'am.
Okay.
I just have one question regarding adding. So, in our context, we usually add certain binders which are also all natural based. Like, there's a few research that we do. Usually, what is the binder available in that region and what has been used. So sometimes there is an additive such as a pozzolana, like we use brick dust or rice husk ash or something like that, which adds to the set, like a bit of an hydraulicity to the plaster itself. Or otherwise, we also introduce sugars like polysaccharides like jaggery, and sometimes other herbal ingredients which contribute to attaining certain level of strength, so that it doesn't, the corners don't break off, or it easily doesn't, to avoid shrinkage cracks when it is being done, or when it is setting and drying. So in your experience, how have you worked with or without them, and what has been your experience
We
like?
always worked without, because
Okay.
anything you add which can be dissolved with water will create air pockets afterwards.
Okay.
And that is what you really want not to have, is air pockets. Yeah. So the really important thing is that the first and the second hand are really so done that it's really very fine virtually before you do the 3mm coat, before you do the gold. Yeah. So in my context, I'm doing really 4 coats. Yeah. It's the rough coat, the filling of the rough coat to make sure everything's as fine as possible before I do my 3rd coat, which is just the marble powder with the lime, with as clean as possible. Yeah, that means no secondary dusts or any partial material from the first two mixes inside. So the third coat has got to be really the clean coat. And the final coat is not really a coat, it's just basically a polishing, but you're using like much more lime inside the mixture, because the lime is then closing all the pores of the marble powder. And because that final coat is like a millimeter thick, yeah, it's, you know, it's so fine, and it's mixing with the pre-coat of 3 millimeters with the 1 millimeter dust with the lime. That's why I'm calling it the gold coat. Yeah, that gold coat is what is really, through the polishing, you know, you could be polishing it longer as you take to put the 3 millimeter coat on and then rubbing it and making everything look homogeneous. That polishing coat is really what is taking the final surface coat and taking time, because that is where the worker has to see, have I cut the corner clean? And there's some special trowels you can get here, which is the outside edge trowel is shaped like that, inside the opposite way, you know, so that all the corners that you've prepared and done nicely, you're cutting them and making them nice with this filling trowels. And then when you're polishing, you're again using these trowels to make sure everything, all the corners are clean, inside, outside. That, you know, so that last detail is the important thing, yeah. And that's where, if the tension is from the hand worker who's doing that final finishing, optimal in his head to know, I don't want faults. Who am I doing it for? Because you're never doing it for yourself when you're building a temple. You're always doing it for God and Mother, you know. So it's also then attention of the people working on the building site, you know, because a builder sees it as a building site. A yogi, we're building a temple, and you're not doing it for yourself. You're doing it for Shramataji. You're doing it for God, you know. And when your animosity is from inside, knowing, you know, that you're doing it for God, then your attention is different, you know. So, and another thing we have on every single building site, yeah, we always have an altar. Yeah, it's important. It stops negativity coming into the house. So somewhere in the house, even during the building period, have an altar. Yeah, somebody should do arti there every day. Somebody should give a flower every day, light some incense, you know, and have some lemons and coconuts. And if you've got people coming there drinking and smoking, not inside the house. If you've got workers from outside and they're drinking and smoking, please, not in the house. You know, you can do it at your break, you can go outside, but please not in the house.
Sure.
Simple as that.
Thank you for reminding us. Yeah, this is very important.
Yeah, and another thing is just to do a couple of, you know, a few minutes meditation every day in the morning when the workers, before they start. It just helps their attention. Why are you here? Why are you doing this? You know, and if it's all yogis working there, you'll see, you know, it'll flow. You know, it'll flow so amazingly. You know, and everyone, no one is a leader in Sahaj. You know, everyone has his potential, and as long as you show everybody, from, doesn't matter which class or culture or creed they're from, you know, as long as you respect and show, look, you know, our biggest respect is Mother, our meditation, and then everything works, you know, then you have less problems.
Correct. Very good. Yeah, well, this is little new for Anushri and Dhanashri. They haven't heard much about Sahaj Yoga. So yeah, when time comes, I'll explain them. Yeah. Yeah.
I've been meditating since I got my realization in 1985.
Wow.
And since I got my meditation, I didn't look back. Yeah. For me, it's been just like a wonderful growth, and yeah, it's a different life, you know.
Yeah.
Your values in life completely change. Dharma, as Shumataji says, that you understand then really what Dharma is. Dharma is something that you are living every day, and because of that, then the karma cannot attack you. Karma cannot attack you at all, because it doesn't have any purpose, because you're living a dharmic life.
Correct. Yeah. Dhanashri, Anushree, any more? You're good?
Mm, no, sir.
Yeah, I'm good for this for now. I will definitely list down a few queries if I have, and I will get back.
Yes.
Thank you, Hardevji, for so many insights from your experience. It was wonderful connecting with you.
Thank you very much.
Likewise. Thank you so much. We'll keep you posted as questions come up. And if there are situations, is it okay if we have another session just for
Yes,
debrief? Yeah. Okay.
no problem. I'm heading to Cabela on the 20th.
Okay.
Because Austria is hosting Sasraradi, so I'm always there early. So I will be there until the 12th of May. And then I
Wow.
will return. Yes, I'm normally there for 3 or 4 weeks always.
3 4 weeks. Wow. Okay. Wow, that'll be a wonderful time in Kabbalah. Yeah. Good. Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
then,
Thank you all.
Mataji.
Yeah, Jai Shamaji, thank you all for joining.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the information.
No problems. Pleasure.